Hi, everybody. Welcome to Leadership Lunch Chat. I'm Jen Wilson, and with me today is my good friend, Amy Vetter. And we're here processing challenges, issues, opportunities, ideals related to leadership in the profession. And today we thought we would focus on mental health because I guess Tuesday was Mental Health Day, Worldwide Mental Health Day. And both Amy and I have talked about this at various times in our long journey here of Leadership Lunch Chats. But we thought it was important to sort of talk about how we are trying to preserve our own mental health and welcome any ideas that you all have that as you tune in today that you could chat to us. We would really appreciate hearing your strategies as well. So I'm going to just start by saying that my number one strategy, and anybody who's ever known me or watched me on this program knows it's exercise. I ran this morning. I try to run or practice yoga or bar or modified CrossFit or something pretty aggressive actually. Like yoga. Rarely is it restorative yoga. It's mostly like vinyasa. Trying to really sweat and really let go of anxiety, aggression, frustration, fear, whatever it may be, the negative stuff that builds up inside us, either through our work or, through family issues or whatever it might be. And so exercise is my number one. It's like the little blue pill or whatever you want to call it. For me, it really makes me feel better. And so that's one of my strategies to manage and maintain my mental health. What about you, Amy?
Yeah, I'm the same. I am someone that needs to work out each morning, and I can feel the difference when I don't. Which the last couple of days I haven't been able to due to things just being scheduled and couldn't get there in the morning. And as the day goes with work, I get more and more exhausted, and it's harder for me to do it at night. So there is things that are important to do even when you can't find the time, of taking pauses in the day, of making sure that you're not just sitting at the computer nonstop, that you're getting up and walking, that you're trying to take some moments. So my moment during the day, for anyone who knows me knows this, that I take a run to Starbucks. If I'm home, I that is my moment to do that and to just get a little reprieve away from things when you're kind of going hard on meetings all day long. And I do think too that in this discussion, because especially since we're hitting deadlines right now, so this is funny that Mental Health Week is the week of October 15th week. But a big important part of that is that you are asking people around you how they're doing too, and making sure that other people are taking breaks as well. Um, and making sure that you've got a very open environment about this, because I think we take things out, whether it's in written communication or verbal communication, when we're stressed out and we're working too many hours and maybe show up with energy we don't intend. So I think that's an important conversation, that even when you're busy, that you're also not forgetting to do this as well.
Oh man, I agree. So a lot in there. First of all, I have to ask, are you running to Starbucks or are you driving to Starbucks?
Driving to
Okay.
Starbucks is not close enough for me to run to
I
Starbucks.
just wondered because you said I take a run. So I
Oh
thought
yeah,
maybe I thought
a
our listeners
Starbucks
might
run.
wonder. Yeah, because it's a weird run back. Uh,
Yeah,
and so with the
yeah.
cup, the full cup of coffee. Anyway, that's what I was being silly, but also wondered, I thought our audience might wonder. So anyway, I want to pick up a couple things that you said there. One is time. I don't have time. I don't have time to do the things that will help me be healthy, mentally healthy. And I totally get that rationale and, that feeling, the pressured feeling of not having time. I do think that um, you got to make time because you were talking about being kind of worn out as the day wears on. I experience that if I work out in the morning, then I have more energy all day, even if it means I got an hour less sleep. My energy is so much greater after dinner, let's say, to interact with my kids or my husband or whatever. I'm a better citizen. I have more of me can still show up if I exercise. So I find that I have more time if I exercise. Then otherwise I'm a little bit more sluggish or a little bit less productive. And so anyway, that's one thing. And then the second is, I also try, if I can't get out to exercise and I know that I'm going to, have issues, stressful, I'm piled on with stress and I've got deadlines and I have maybe sometimes a little bit grumpy people around me, whether they're clients or team members or family members, whatever that is, that sort of not perfect Zen interactions with others, which most of us don't have those perfect ones. Then I'll try to step out. I work from home when I'm not traveling and, snip some roses in my, garden or, pull some weeds or something out. I love gardening. I love yard work. And so even if it's like 10 minutes, that's all that's all I have time for. I'll fill up my fountains outside or, whatever it is, just something that gets me away from the desk and into some kind of an environment that makes me happy. Amy's Starbucks, I'm a coffee nut. That environment makes me happy. Just being in there. I don't have to hang out in there. Just going in and knowing I'm about to get a big
smelling it.
Yeah. Smelling it and being like, hey, I'm doing something for me right here at the Starbucks. This is for me. And I think that when we feel like we're making a little bit of an investment back in self, instead of just pouring everything out to everyone else and resenting it, it gives us better perspective and we're better mentally. So we have a comment out here. Did you see that, Amy, in the Do you want to comment on that or?
Well, I think it goes along with, so first off, Steven's a runner, too, Jen. So, so that's also been something where, I have always liked to run. I've been injured, so it's been hard, to run lately and you have to find alternative things. But, one of the things that he had asked was about, if we have a meltdown publicly, and that could be on social media, that could be in a meeting, it could be on a phone call, it could be on an email, there's all sorts of ways that we might show up in ways that we don't intend, or that we are just being open and authentic at that moment. And, when we show up that way, our energy is contagious. And so one of the things I think about all of this that's important is two things. One is we want to be real and we want to be authentic. And if we are feeling negative or saying negative things, to give context to what's going on and why you might be feeling that way, so people don't take things personally. Because I think a lot of times people are going to interpret it on however they're feeling that day too. And we don't realize, sometimes we can start negative interactions with people, but we're both on a separate journey dealing with two totally different situations, whether that be at home, whether that be at work, whether that be something in the news. I know, Jen, that's always something for you too, of how it can affect, you as well, and showing up in social media or around people. But I think it's always important to give context. So it's not that you can't be yourself, but we do have to take that 100% responsibility of the energy that we create for others. So even if, something, and we're feeling negative or something isn't sitting right with us, is to kind of pre-warn on something. If we're going to say, here's what's going on for me. If this is not the message you want to read, skip it. right now, to understand that we do affect others, and to make sure that we're taking responsibility for that energy as well. Not saying we shouldn't show up as we are, but giving context and making sure that we do have care with other people's day as well is important. Maybe you can talk about too how this affects you as well.
For sure. First of all, I try not to write things with my fingers when I'm hyper emotional, super grumpy or grouchy, angry, very disappointed. Occasionally I do write some disappointed statements in I was very disappointed in a bunch of stuff during the pandemic. You could go back and it's like a good journal of my, oh my gosh, you guys, come on, get a vaccine, wear a mask. I had opinions and I was frustrated, and I happened to live in a place that didn't think we were having a pandemic. So that was irritating to me, but I try not to write and send it in email or out in social media when I'm, hyper emotional. And I'm not trying to just present all positive in social media. I'm very committed to being my real self, but I don't have to like spout off or something. There's no reason for that. And I certainly, one thing I'm super careful about, I'm committed not to hurt other people. I'm very committed not to hurt other people. Even if I don't like them, or I totally disagree with them philosophically, or they don't like me and they're being mean to me, I'm not going to turn hurtful. I just don't want to. So I try to keep my mouth closed, and I try to keep my fingers from typing when I'm afraid that I can't, really express myself in a way that would be heard positively or professionally or constructively. And so that doesn't mean I don't melt down. But again, I'm fortunate. I'm a runner. I can go out and melt down and cry on my run if I need to, or have a, I did a lot of like weird crying, kind of groaning, running after my mom died, out there on the streets of Bellevue, Nebraska. I processed some real frustration and sadness there in the exercise. And I tell people, I just had a group do some public speaking. They had to give presentations to their whole leadership team, and they had to do it remotely. And they were, some of them were pretty nervous about that. And I said, right before you go, do 10 burpees or do 20 push-ups, or, you can do something right next to your desk, and obviously off camera, but just get a little bit of a burst of aggression out if you can. So I guess that's where I would take you, Stephen, as just try to keep your hands off that keyboard. Or I sometimes write a draft email and sleep on it. If it requires kind of a tougher message, but I'm really want to make sure that it's still constructive and still loving. Amy, you used the word caring. I think my mental health is better if I know that people feel my commitment to them and my love for them, even if we can't agree. Then my mental health is better. Theirs might be too, but I feel terrible if I make somebody else feel terrible. I certainly don't want to do that. That's not part of my core commitment. One other thing is I pray. And I pray in the shower probably every single day. And I pray when I run. And I keep a list of people who need prayers. And all of you, any of you could always send me privately, DM me your prayer request or whatever, and I'll put it in my prayer list. I do that. And praying makes me feel like I don't have to control everything. Praying also reminds me of all the people who have all this really tough stuff happening in their lives, and how trivial most of the time whatever it is that's bugging me is comparative to that. And that really helps, keep in perspective my problems. And so, whatever your religion or faith, and even if it isn't prayer and it's just running their names and sending them positive energy, it's a way of sort of looking at your circumstances and others and recognizing, man, I've got a lot of good going on over here.
Yeah, and I would also say too that we've talked a lot about, fitness, but it definitely happens that fitness might not be the thing that gives you stress release, right? It could be listening to music, it could be knitting, it could be reading a book, um, whatever you need to do to decompress. But taking that beat or a pause um, when you're stressed out or tired or exhausted is really, really important. Um, and I think too, you know, different personality types can compartmentalize differently and do that. But for me, like the goal is to be aware. So aware of just how you're feeling, because a lot of times we are so busy or deadline driven that we're just so focused on that we're not actually aware of how we're feeling or taking those moments during the day to pause and think and reset and truly figure out how is it that we want to show up. And I find too another help with this is to find a mantra for the day or an intention for the day, because as the day goes, it snowballs, right? And then if there was an intention today that you wanted to make someone smile today, or remembering to breathe, or whatever it was, that you have it on a post-it note or something that when your eyes cross it, you're like, oh my goodness, I that's how I wanted to show up today. And it's just like a nice reminder to make sure that you are intentional. So it is one of those things, again, just having accountability for ourselves and for others, that we figure out these ways within our day. It doesn't have to be a long amount of time if we don't have time to do that. And also with energy, and I know when there's long days and things are stressful, it's hard to plan out your food, and making sure that you're creating the right energy and not just grabbing at things or snacking all day. And then that kind of draws your energy down or makes you tired, or, you show up in ways that you don't want to show up. So it's really important to think about like having a routine and how you're going to plan out your day as far as the energy, and then maintaining your energy through the day, even in your busiest times.
Yeah, fueling that body, really important. And the more junk I think we put in, the more, I don't know, sort of toxic or mood swingy we can get. Highs and lows, peaks and valleys, as opposed to sort of that better food for your body, whatever that is. I agree with all of that, and I also think we've talked about this a million times too, Amy, at various times, the practice of gratitude. And
Yes.
if I'm really feeling like sorry for myself, or very like, I don't know, put upon, or overwhelmed by whatever is on my plate, I try to back up and find gratitude for what's on my plate, first of all. Like the stuff I'm resenting, I try to flip it and be like, wow, let's try to find the blessings in this stuff that we're doing. But also, just if I can't, if the stuff I feel like I'm facing is sort of gratitudeless, then I'm going to look around outside of that and get present to my blessings. And often I can find those in my family. Not everybody has their family as their blessing. Sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's animals, nature, food, coffee, whatever it is. But just being grateful really can help me sort of put it in perspective. So
Yeah.
that's something else that I do. I mentioned, getting out and gardening, also like getting out in nature and just walking. There's the whole Japanese, forest bathing idea, that getting into the trees will, release hormones and energy in you, and allow you to breathe in things, the trees and the dirt and, nature are releasing to you, and that it is a mechanism for both physical and mental wellness. And I, as a hiker and somebody who happens to live in a very wooded area, I can attest that it is a mood balancer, or whatever. It does work to get out there. Even if I'm not strenuously trying to exercise, I'm just like standing in it or sitting in it even. Super helpful. So that's another tip or idea that I try to employ.
Yeah. So I think we're at the end of our time, but this is something that I think needs to stay at the forefront, not just the mental health day, but remembering to ask for help if you need it, and also ask the people around you how they're doing as well, that we're all going down these individual journeys, but we're all in it together. So thank you, Jen, for having this conversation this week, and we look forward to seeing you on our next chat.
Thank you, Amy. Bye, all.